Pressure yet?
And check.
Boom! Great job, Mom. And about those gold earrings.
No, ma'am.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Monitor your blood pressure daily and help each other stay motivated. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasetopressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
The history of Air America lives here. This is WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
This is AP News. I'm Rita Foley. Today is an important day in the fight against COVID, but it comes as COVID cases are spiking in parts of the nation. The AP's Mike Hempen has this.
A surge in cases in the upper Midwest has some Michigan schools keeping students home ahead of Thanksgiving, and the military sending medical teams to Minnesota to relieve hospital staffs overwhelmed by COVID-19 patients.
Reverend Williams is on the line.
Thank you so much.
Booster shots are being made
Thank you. Hey, Tisha, how you doing, hon?
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing great. Give me one hot second. I just saw something, and I need them to look into it.
And an advisory committee for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is meeting Friday to discuss expanding boosters.
Republican leader Kevin McCarthy.
Marnie, could you do me a favor? I just came up on StreamYard and it says it won't be recording because I have run out of storage space.
The House is expected to try again today to pass the Biden package and send it to the Senate.
Could you look into that for me? I'm trying to just get a few last minute things. I don't know. They just said it on StreamYard.
Talk to anybody about them. And then there's this, says the AP.
I'm not?
The judge also banned MSNBC
Okay.
from entering the courthouse.
Okay.
After opponents are working for the network followed the jury's bus.
Would you find out why they sent me that message? Okay, thanks so much. Okay.
18-year-old
All right, hon. Bye-bye. Okay, how you doing? How was everything yesterday?
It was good. It was good. Everything went well. It was great to be in fellowship with everyone and to be there to support. And certainly to my family, which was good.
Oh, that's great. Are you still down there?
No, I'm back in Bridgehampton.
Okay.
To Bridgehampton really quickly.
Okay. Yeah, they kind of do that to you when you get those parts. You want to get out.
Yeah. So my family lives there. I'm from Buffalo Island, which is about 30 minutes from Brunswick. And so Maud Aubrey is the cousin of one of my cousins.
Oh my gosh,
So,
bless your heart.
Yeah, for me it's kind of personal just to be there to
Bless your
support
heart.
the family. And
Yeah.
well,
In women's doubles.
it was a good day. It was great to see so much support. That was wonderful. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Olympics.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. It's a
lot.
lot.
To host the Winter
It is
Games
a lot.
starting on February 4th.
So.
I'm Charles Deliberation.
Disney Cruise
So we
Line
will see.
require all guests
Excuse me, where all of this goes. Of course, we're on Facebook Live now and YouTube. So we're up on it. Raphael, hey, Paula, sending much love to everybody. If you would, please go over to the YouTube, my YouTube channel, Santita Show channel on YouTube. And if you would, join there. Facebook has been trying to redirect us there. And so, because Facebook is really, I'm finding, it's supposed to be a portal for all the things that you do. So when you get a certain amount of traffic, and thanks to you, we have gotten that, they have told me that I should direct everybody to YouTube. So if you would, please go on over there to the Santita Jackson Show. Monty. Oh, how you doing, Monty? And Hannah, I didn't see the eclipse. And Monty, I hope you stayed with us today. Mark Stevens, how you doing? Oh, bless your heart. And Brian. Oh, this is my Brian. I love you, sweetie. Oh, my Brian. I love you. I love you. I love you. Give Kathy and the babies my love. This is one of my little baby brothers. I love Brian. Oh my goodness, Brian Bunnan. Sending you much love today, sweetie. So today we're going to be talking about the Ahmaud Arbery case. That case is beginning to come to a close, and then we're going to be talking about, at the same time, simultaneously, the McMichael Bryan murder trial. And whew, what a time it has been. In fact, Pastor Tisha Williams, who's giving us the good news today, we always love having her. She, along with hundreds of other ministers, black pastors, she was down in Brunswick, and of course this has a personal side for her because she is actually
About a minute away.
by distance related to Ahmaud Arbery. So can't wait to hear what she saw down there. Pastor Stephen Thurston will be with us at the bottom of the hour. You can stay with us if you wish, Tish, because we're going to be talking about that, but we've got a lot to go over today. Just to reiterate, everybody, we had attorney Darrell Jones on yesterday with us from the Transformative Justice Coalition, who told us that Mr. McMichael, Travis McMichael's father, called the prosecutor from the back of his truck right after they killed Ahmaud Arbery, and she told him to go home and shower to rid themselves of the evidence of his blood. Remember that. That is true.
10 seconds.
And that is why that woman is under indictment. That prosecutor who was run out of office by Ahmaud Arbery's family. So think about that.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, 6 days from Thanksgiving. I love it. I'm Santita Jackson. It's November 19th, 2021. Those of you who are on the East Coast can see this eclipse. It's fabulous. It's fabulous, fabulous. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you today on WCPT. Really, we've inherited the mantle of Air America. That's right. We're the largest progressive talk radio station in the United States, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. All of my brothers and sisters up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and people all over the world who are tuning in on WCPT, AM 950 Radio, and on my YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show channel. Everybody, please get on over there if you can, or just meet us on Facebook on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. And of course, we're streaming on WCPT's page as well. Let's talk about the Ahmaud Arbery case. Let's talk about the McMichael Bryan murder case, because they are charged with killing Ahmaud Arbery. And it's been riveting testimony. Apparently they're going to close everything out and they will go into jury deliberations Monday, Tuesday. But we're going to talk about what we have seen already and what we've seen in this American judicial process. A lot of us, particularly African Americans, and I would say the Latinx community, have seen the injustices in the system. But now everybody's seeing things because of video, because now we're streaming these trials. So you're seeing the behavior of judges and the prejudices of judges, the biases, the prejudices. You're seeing how how the defense how they defend and how the prosecutors prosecute. We're seeing a whole lot. We're learning a lot all at one time. So I want to know what your thoughts are. Call me at 773-763 WCPT 773-763-9278. We've got a lot of ground to cover today, so let's get right to it. Everybody, let's get to these headlines. Chicago, it's getting chilly, everybody. 39 degrees, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 41 degrees, cloudy. The Dow closed down 60 points. The NASDAQ closed up 72 points, and the S&P 500 closed up 15 points yesterday. Boy, what a blowout. The Patriots, 25. The Falcons, nothing. They shut them out, everybody. And the Timberwolves were triumphant over the Spurs, 115-90. The Bulls will be playing the Nuggets tonight. And the Wild in the NHL, that's right, Minnesota's team, 7. The Stars, 2. And Chicago will be playing the Oilers tomorrow. Well, what is going on, everybody? Did you hear Kevin McCarthy? Well, he, of course, is the minority leader, House minority leader, and he is drawing widespread ridicule for his marathon floor speech that just ended about an hour ago, 8 hours, as he was trying to hold back voting on the Build Back Better Act, which the California Republican characterized as the single most reckless spending bill in U.S. history, despite it being a fraction of the cost of the tax cuts he championed just 4 years ago. This $1.9 trillion economic legislation stands as a key pillar of President Biden's domestic agenda, and it's supposed to help a lot of Americans, everybody. A lot of Americans. What was going on? Well, he might have held back the vote, but it's supposed to be brought to the floor at 8 o'clock today. So we will see how all of this goes. A new look at the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic points straight back to a seafood market in the Chinese city of Wuhan, says a scientist who's been studying the pandemic since the beginning. That was the original suspected source of the pandemic, but as more entities investigated and the Chinese government sought to deflect blame, the picture has become muddled. What do you think, everybody? Does it matter to you where it started? Why is it important? I'm going to ask Dr. Deborah Furholden about that in a hot second. Travis McMichael testified that he misspoke to police after killing Ahmaud Arbery. This is from Reuters. Pressed by a prosecutor about inconsistencies in his testimony, Travis McMichael said at his murder trial on Thursday that he misspoke to police in the hours after shooting and killing Ahmaud Arbery, a black man who ran by McMichael's home in Georgia. McMichael is one of 3 white men, of course, along with his father, on trial for Arbery's death. He told the jury a day early that Arbery was grabbing his shotgun at the end of a 5-minute chase, so he fired in self-defense. On Thursday, he conceded, that he told police that day that he could not say for sure whether Arbery actually grabbed it. Well, hundreds of black pastors showed up in Brunswick, Georgia yesterday. Hundreds of them rallied and prayed outside the trial of the 3 white men accused of murdering 25-year-old black jogger Ahmaud Arbery. And yes, it was nonviolent, and Pastor Tisha Williams was there, and we cannot wait to hear what she has to say about it. The jury in the Rittenhouse trial takes deliberations into the 4th day, everybody, as MSNBC has been banned from the courthouse, everybody. What do you think about that? After a freelancer for the network got close to the bus carrying the jury. MSNBC's been banned. That is too rich. In the meantime, it gets even better. Matt Gaetz, a representative from Florida, said this week that Kyle Rittenhouse would probably make a pretty good congressional intern. Yes. And that he is open to hiring him as a congressional intern if he's interested in helping the country in additional ways. What do you think about that, everybody? Well, many people are rejoicing at the 11th hour halt of Julius Jones' execution. Human rights advocates have rejoiced that Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt heeded the advice of his state's pardon board, which found compelling evidence of the condemned man's innocence. But just one caveat. While his clemency order was welcome, justice advocates decried a stipulation that Jones shall never again be eligible to apply for, be considered for, or receive any additional commutation, pardon, or parole. What do you think about that? Talk about backing him in a corner. Everybody, let's talk about it. And 2 of the men convicted of killing Malcolm X exonerated half a century later. Wow. All on the power, really, of the research put into a documentary on the killing of the great Malcolm X. Pastor Tisha Williams, you were in Brunswick yesterday. Just very quickly before you give us some good news. How did you get down there and what did you see?
Went down there for the day. Thank you, as always, Santita, for having me this morning.
Of course.
Went down there for the day very quickly to support the Arbery family and certainly to respond to the a ridiculous statement by the defense attorney that they didn't want any more black pastors in the room. And so naturally, when you tell black pastors where not to be, that's exactly where they show up.
Yeah.
So, and we showed up in number. It was a beautiful showing of solidarity, of gathering, of community. We were out in number, not just pastors, not just clergy, but community. And that's what made it so brilliant and so special. It felt good to be in that setting in support of the family. It really did. And for me, it's personal, as I'm a descendant of Sapelo Island, Georgia, which is not 30 minutes from there, where Ahmaud also grew up with his grandmother and family there. And he is the cousin of my second cousin. And so to be there to support my family, both personally and pastorally, meant the world to me.
Well, it meant the world to me to see you down there looking fabulous and looking strong and being so supportive. Because indeed,
Yeah.
historically in our community, in the Black community, and in all communities, but our Black pastors have led us out of slavery. That is what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why our Constitution separates the state from the church, because the church is so powerful, so powerful.
That's right.
And may they remain powerful and free. That
And
is
what
the
a great
key.
demonstration of power was.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So glad that you were there. Well, what's the good news today?
The good news today, I want to talk a little bit today about codependency. As you know, I've been working on unpacking this emotional baggage over the last few weeks. And one of the things I want to talk about is unpacking codependency. And I know maybe there are some people who don't know what it is, so I'm going to help you out. Codependency can be defined as a relationship in which you invest so much in somebody else or other people that you can no longer function independently. Codependency predicts the loss of personal autonomy. All your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and decisions are strictly related to somebody else. In order for you to be okay, you always need the other person's approval and validation. It's also known as relationship addiction because people with codependency often form or maintain relationships that are one-sided, emotionally destructive, and or abusive. In a nutshell, codependency is when you're dependent on someone else for your own self-worth. However, I have to caution you today because our dependencies are not only partial to people, but can also be parsed out to include many influences. A dependency can be an addiction to any object, behavior, or person that represents an underlying attempt to get an emotional need met. In other words, I must do this to meet my needs, to make myself happy. You can be dependent on an object like alcohol, tobacco, cocaine, sexual addiction. You can be dependent on behaviors, even behaviors that appear to be good. Sometimes we think just because we're doing what's good, it's healthy, but nope. Equally harmful is perfectionism, workaholism, and caregiving. I can hear somebody asking, Pastor Tish, how do I break free from my need to be codependent? I love that you asked that question because we can't fix what we won't face. The truth is many codependents don't even realize they're codependent. You've just defined the behavior as clingy or smothering, hooked, obsessed, or dare I say, in love. But one of the most important steps to take when you realize you're in a codependent relationship is to strengthen the relationship you have with yourself and with God. No one understood this better than Jesus. In the Gospel of Luke, it says when Jesus found with the news of Jesus spread out all the more, he frequently withdrew to the wilderness to pray. When the call of codependency became too great, Jesus created boundaries to reinforce his relationship with himself and God. Jesus helped others for his Father's work and his Father's glory. He met the needs of the hungry, the sick, the demon-possessed, but he didn't help everyone, and he didn't help all the time. I feel like I need to repeat that, Santita. He didn't help everyone, and he didn't help all the time. Jesus set personal boundaries and prioritized self-care. He wasn't driven by fear, by falsehoods, or his fans. He set boundaries and never felt guilty about enforcing them because personal boundaries mark where we end and where someone else begins. This is it. I want you to know today that you can love them and still let God fix them. Somebody needs to know that today to deal with their codependency. You can still love them and let God fix them. Because while God is fixing them, you have to start fixing you. Find out who you really are and enjoy being you so that you can enjoy more healthy relationships with other people. The reality is God didn't call us to a life of codependence, but rather interdependence. That's what we did in Brunswick yesterday. It was an act of interdependency where we love each other, we communicate with each other, we're in community and fellowship with each other in a healthy way. It's a principle called Ubuntu. I am because you are. Interdependency calls us to value and enjoy, love and learn from each other, and yet not be totally dependent on each other. Interdependence involves a healthy mutual give and take where neither person looks to the other to meet each and every need. Because ultimately, God wants us to move from codependency to interdependency to Christ dependency. So if you find yourself today in a codependent relationship, learn who you are, love who you are, and live your best life. And that's the good news.
Amen to that. Thank you for that. Thank you.
You are welcome.
You killing me softly. I feel as if you knew me on my dark
Listen,
despair. Then you looked
I
right
felt
through
seen,
me.
right?
Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you for that. I needed that today. I hope that blessed somebody. And I'm so glad that you were down in Brunswick, Georgia. Blessing everyone. Stay right here. We've got Dr. Deborah Furr Holden, brilliant epidemiologist, Associate Dean of Public Health at Michigan State University School of Medicine. Indeed, she comes out of Johns Hopkins. That's where she got her PhD. And she's still doing a lot of work with them as she is building the School of Public Health at Michigan State University. Dr. Deborah Furr Holden, we are in the holiday season and you have just traveled. We're about to go into the most heavily traveled weekend of the year. What would you recommend that we do? Because you just ran the gauntlet. You not only traveled nationally, you traveled internationally. What recommendations would you give to us as we're about to get on these planes, trains, and automobiles?
I know. And people, it's Thanksgiving and people want to give thanks and they want to do it together. And many people for the last Thanksgiving or two have not had the Thanksgiving of their choosing. And so they're claiming it for themselves this year. So I got a couple things I want to say to people. Number one, I understand people are fatigued, but the virus is not. So I just want to remind people of that. The virus has no emotion, morals, values, strongly held opinions about any of this stuff. The virus is apolitical. It doesn't, side with any one person, party, or thing. It has one goal, which is to survive and thrive. And how it survives and thrives is to go from person to person and out-trick human beings. And it does that by mutating. So that's all the virus has on its mind. It doesn't care about any of those other things. So just because people are tired, I'm still encouraging people, still use good, sound judgment. If you don't have to travel, then don't. Just don't. I'm telling you, I went to the airport myself, and I felt like I could hear Dr. Knighton on my shoulder. I'm serious. I was so mindful. As soon as I get to the counter, and it's an international flight. So, it's a lot of, hand me your passport. Okay, hand me your proof of vaccination. It's a lot more things that you have to interact with and exchange with somebody around. I had to fill out a symptom checklist to health screening. Have you had any fever in the last 48 hours of this or that? Have you had a known exposure? It takes longer. It's a lot more interaction. And as soon as I get up, the lady reaches her hand out for my passport with her gloved hand. And I'm thinking, we'll put on a new pair of gloves. How many passports have you touched with that gloved hand of yours? So I said, ma'am, can you put on a new glove? And she said, no. And I said, well, I'll hold my passport then. I don't know how many passports you touched with that hand, but whatever is on your glove, you about to put on my passport, and I don't want that. And she said, ma'am, I have to hold your passport. I said, well, do you have any wipes? And she said, yeah. I said, great. When you hand me my passport back, hand it back to me with a wipe, wrapped in a wipe. And the look that she gave me was like, but she did it, and I'm grateful. And I wasn't trying to be confrontational with her. I'm just thinking, dang, it's so many people here, and you've touched all this stuff. And now you're going to touch my passport. She feels protected because she's got a glove on her hands. But I'm like, sweetie, COVID ain't getting into your body through your fingernails.
But you know what? But she's not been told. But that's one of my objections.
Yes.
And one of the gifts that you've given us is by bringing to our attention the existence of an infection preventionist, A. And then you insisted that she come on this show, B. You said, no. You don't know. There are so many portals through which we get COVID and so many other viruses and illnesses. We're not even aware. So, because up until I've been fooling with you all, I would not have thought about asking someone, what about your gloves? Because I was the glove queen last year.
And that's not even your style. That's not even your style.
No, not those gloves.
Yeah. So my point is, there's a lot of, I think, well-meaning people who are just not well informed, and so the goal is to have our folks, the folks that we can touch, the folks that we can reach, be well informed, and then inform others. So you have to just be mindful as you're going through the airport. So I made sure I wanted to know everything that was needed. I got to do a health screening. Basically, you can do it on your cell phone or you can do it by paper. I wanted the paper one. Why? Because I decided I was not going to touch my cell phone at all throughout the airport. Why? Because that cell phone is a vector. The cell phone is a vector. I can touch something, touch my cell phone, infect my cell phone, and then infect myself when I later touch my cell phone and then touch my face. So I said it's just best. I want as little contact with things as possible until I get on the plane. And then when I'm on the plane and I wipe down my hands, and I did go back and look at the Dr. Knighton video of washing your hands. When I wash my hands, I'll take my wipey, I wipe down my cell phone and anything else that I have touched, while I was going through the airport. So it's about just being mindful, right, and understanding with good information how people spread this virus. It is droplets in the air, but it's more than just somebody with COVID sneezing on you or breathing on you. A lot of times it's smart people who just infect themselves because they aren't mindful or they don't know. They touch things, they touch surfaces, they interact with their world, and then they touch their face, they rub their eyes, they sneeze and cover their mouth with a hand that is has the virus on it. I mean, all of these things. Dr. Knighton says it all the time. The most important thing is to keep your hands clean. That is hard to do when you're out and interacting in the world. You also just have to be mindful about what you touch. So let's say you got that. You've gotten through the airport. Everybody be prepared. There is no more restrictions on any airline. Likely every seat on your plane will be full. I repeat, every seat on your plane will be full. And what does that mean? That also means that all the overhead space will be gone. And oftentimes, the overhead space will be gone before the last group of passengers board. Why? Because people drop their bag in the first open space they see. They're not checking and, in an ideal world, I always tell people, don't ever put your bag behind you if you can avoid it. Why? Because it's so hard to get a bag behind you, because as soon as that plane lands, people snap their seatbelts off and people start to populate the aisle. So if your bag is 3 rows behind you, how are you going to get it? You're going to go through that crowd of people? This is the other thing I noticed. People that were standing up immediately, and I didn't want to be that person to block the aisle because sometimes people will stand in the aisle and then their butt is in your face. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't want is someone to do that to me. So as soon as that plane stopped, I put my bag in the aisle. Mm-hmm. Like no one's going to stand in this space right next to me because I don't feel comfortable with that. So you can feel free to stand behind me. You can feel free to stand in front of me. But what you will not do is stand directly beside me and have me crowded and boxed in to my seat, given that every
1 minute
planes now are full.
Well, I've got 1 minute left. Of that. Yes. I've got 1 minute left. And what do you want people? Paula just said, I can't believe.
People need to know. Yeah.
Well, Paula just said, I can't believe all the precautions that we have to take now. Wow.
Well, and if you think about it, I don't want people having to live their whole life on their tippy toes, right? There won't be a whole lot of joy in that. But if people can really start to figure out, how do I internalize some of these lessons? We can learn a lot from being more mindful and being more present. Mm-hmm. I realized it was silly of me to ever walk through the airport with my face in my cell phone or playing a game on my phone or texting or any of that. Well, I have actually left my cell phone at the counter before. I did it at the Atlanta airport. But I got to on the other side of security. I said, where's my phone? I went back to security. They said, no, it's not over here. I didn't want to go back out. I said, did I leave it at the counter? I said, no problem. I'll do Find My iPhone. You can send a signal to your phone. It'll make a noise, and you can send a message.
I got 10 seconds.
I sent a message. Yeah, I'm at this gate. Child, my iPhone was going up Route 60 or one of the main roads leading up from the airport. So we could all benefit from being mindful. We could all be more mindful and learn something from that. Yes. Yes. I don't play with my phone in the airport, and I got my thinking cap on, and I'm paying attention.
I got you. Stay right there, everybody. Let's talk about Arbery Case and Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm back with more of the Santita Jackson Show, Dr. Deb. Did you say you saw your phone? It was heading north. Someone took your phone?
Someone picked my phone up right off the counter and took it. And it's crazy because I'm thinking, this is at the check-in. So I'm like, somebody took my phone and handed it off to somebody else who then drove away with it.
That is crazy.
And it was a brand new iPhone. Yeah, it was a brand new iPhone. But that's what happens when you're not woke, when you're not conscious, when you're just mindlessly going through whatever you're going through. You think about when your parents taught you when you went off to college, how to be more aware of your surroundings. You probably had more training in this than your average person, just given who your family is, right? Like, you know, you got to just be aware of your surroundings. They didn't tell you to be in fear. They didn't tell you to, you know, be overly vigilant or so hyper vigilant that you were paranoid or anxious or nervous all the time. But be mindful of the comings and goings. When you walk out the door, look around. When you go to your car, especially at night, be aware of who else is around. Be listening for any sounds or any footsteps. And once you got those lessons, you internalized them, and it just became how you did things. It just became what you did. You didn't even have to think about it. So we are as mindlessly reckless right now as I'm asking people to be mindfully aware and mindfully cautious. And you can do it. The same way you got trained, you don't ever want to be bored. So when you're going through the airport, you know, if there's you're waiting in line, be playing a game on your phone or be texting with people or whatever. You can train yourself when you're in line to be running through in your mind's eye what steps you've got to take to, you know, when you get on the plane, or be, you know, running through in your mind what activities I don't know, just something else. We can train our brains and our arms and legs to do whatever we want. And then the more you reinforce those behaviors, they become internalized behaviors that are now just what you do.
But you know, but
that exercise about washing.
Senator Taylor and Attorney Hoffler are on the line.
But you know,
that is now how you will just wash your hands.
But that's something that you have to do every day. I mean, that's why I was telling you when you first started here, you were like, I feel like I'm a broken record. No, it's like the Lord's Prayer. You need to say that every day. I mean, there are things that keep you on point, because this is Paula is making the point. Paula Garcini Zipser, your number one fan. She's like, look, this is a whole new way of living, and we're all grown here. You have to really go back over, how do I wash my hands? Wait a minute, my phone, which is like your third arm, I have to clean this thing. I have to clean it throughout the day, and I can't just wipe it, you know, because folks don't, people play around about cleaning. But you know what? I need to. I need to go on. But you know, I need to talk with you, because I think we need to do something real special on Monday, because people are traveling, Dr. Deb.
Yeah.
People are traveling. And even though you've been saying this for several weeks now, you know, the fact is people are going to get up on the holiday and they're going to figure out what they're going to ask, what should I do? You know that. You know that's happening.
Yeah.
You know it?
Yeah.
You know it?
20 seconds.
I want to review next week, too, also what people need to do at their houses.
Okay. Let's start that on Monday.
I want to go over that.
Let's start that on Monday. Yeah, let's start that on Monday. But you can stay here. We're talking with Senator Taylor and CK, right?
10.
That is correct.
Okay. Hey.
Good morning.
Get him?
No answer.
Okay, just keep trying, please. Thanks so much.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Boy, what a time we're living in. What a time we're living in. We're looking at the Ahmaud Arbery case. We are now going to be going into closing arguments on Monday. The jury will go into deliberations right after that. We are on the fourth day of the deliberations in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And I read something that was really interesting. I'm coming to you from WCPT, everybody, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, inheriting the mantle of Air America. That's what we used to be, but today we are WCPT and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want you all to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. Jeffrey Toobin, the CNN legal analyst, tweeted last week, "I wonder what the verdict would be in the Rittenhouse trial if the defendant were a black 17-year-old from another state who killed two people with an illegal assault weapon." And his remark was retweeted 5,000 times. And she continues, this wonderful writer, she said, Jeffrey Toobin really doesn't wonder. He knows that this is the United States, that the legal system, far from rendering unbiased, neutral verdicts, tends to favor whiteness. Many people of color have known this all along, but now we've got cameras, everybody, in our phones. We've got them in our courtrooms. So when we look at Judge Schroeder in Wisconsin, we're like, oh my goodness, no, it made me go, wait a minute. Can you imagine under the cover of darkness? Yes, pun intended. This happens every day in courts all over the country. We have judges just like this. We have prosecutors and defense teams that either successfully defend the client or the state, or sometimes they're just unfair. There's a lot going on here. So we've got attorney C.K. Hoffler. She's been so brilliant. She's made us so proud, having been on MSNBC, ABC, Court TV all week long, BNC, and of course you're on the Santita Jackson Show. And of course she has her legal Q&A segment, which we've done every day, legal Q&A with CK, because there's so much that's hitting us, whether it's Mr. Jones in Oklahoma or the two men who were exonerated and in the killing of Malcolm X. And then we've got Charlottesville, two of the men who are accused of helping to ignite that riot down there. All of these legal cases are before us, and of course, the Kyle Rittenhouse and the Ahmaud Arbery case. And so, Attorney C.K. Hoffler and Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor, who's running for lieutenant governor in the state of Wisconsin. Let me start with you, State Senator Taylor. What is happening in Wisconsin? Because I have to read that there are protests taking place outside of the courthouse, and it seems to be a little bit of a tense environment. And what do you make of day 4 of jury deliberations? Did you expect it to be over sooner, or what does this say? You're a practicing lawyer.
Well, first of all, it is a very active front of the courthouse. If you were to imagine a courthouse and then very large steps, and then the sidewalk, the street, then a in-between, like boulevard, the street, and then a park across the street. The park has become the camp out place where tents and vehicles are parked around it that are a part of the media, as well as individuals who are there showing support. In not only the park, but the sidewalk in front of the park. Of course, the street is not blocked. And then the boulevard even has cameras set up where individuals are there from the media. And then, of course, the street going the other direction is not blocked. And then the sidewalk has individuals on it, and it is full then right by the steps of the courthouse with cameras, with media. And then the steps are filled with individuals mingled. At the top, more individuals that are protesting for justice for all, and then individuals that are protesting for an acquittal for Kyle are more in the front, and it is a lot of people. And so I, of course, had been in D.C. Rallying and marching and supporting the Voter Rights Act being fixed, or the filibuster being nicked so that it can be fixed. And when I came back, I changed my flight so that I could come through Chicago. And on my way back, I stopped in Kenosha. And I stopped and took hand warmers and toe warmers to the individuals who were outside, including even some of the media, because you could see people's hands were just so cold in Wisconsin. But in that time period when I came, easily there were at least, 20, 30 media outlets, cameras, all around, trying to get all clips that they could. I was only there a short time yesterday, and you can hear the entire time individuals not quite shouting at each other, but definitely having exchanges that are on different sides of the issue, and chanting some in different, so multiple side conversations, let's say, happening in front of the courthouse. And other individuals are walking in and out of the courthouse who have to go to court for other appearances or things that are going on. So a very, very busy site. I had an opportunity to talk to some individuals who told me about, now it would be 2 days ago, when a gentleman supporting Kyle, and I use that loosely, pushed a woman and another young man from Milwaukee, confronted him and told him he needed to apologize and that he was out of order for doing that. So those kinds of interactions are happening also. So now they're being more protective of the people who are on the front steps. But it is a scene. It is a site of robust activity that is in front of the courthouse. And I was excited to be able to be there and to show support for a verdict that will reflect that we don't want vigilantes coming from across state lines to do what law enforcement has done effectively and can do effectively without their help.
Well, what do you make of 4 days of deliberation? We're going into the fourth day of deliberation. What does that say? And then you have now a juror who asked for the instructions, and the judge let her take them home.
Wow. This judge has done a few things that have definitely not been things that I've seen in a courtroom done by the judge. Stuff that feels like bias, stuff that has just shocked me, just period. And in regards to the number of days this jury is out, I guess one could take it multiple ways, but it just seems very clear to me. So every day that they are out does not feel like it will come back as a verdict holding Kyle accountable for his behavior. That's what it feels like to me. But, I respect that we don't know. We just don't know, what's going on through the jury's minds. But I don't see the longer it's out being a verdict of guilty.
Attorney C.K. Hoffler, we've got this Rittenhouse case and we've got the Arbery case. And they're both riveting, and they say so much about about where we are. What are we speaking directly to the Rittenhouse case? Are you surprised by this fourth day of deliberation, and what do you see down the road for the Arbery case?
Good morning, Santina, and to this panel and to your listening audience. I am surprised at the 4 days of deliberation. I am encouraged that the jurors wanted to see the video footage because I think, and they did look at the drone footage, because the drone footage, not that they're going to acquit Kyle, but the drone footage is the single most important or strongest piece of evidence that the prosecution has that the notion or that the defense of self-defense is not viable in this case. So I'm encouraged that they wanted to see that. I am completely discouraged and maintain that the judicial temperament and decision-making in this case has been inappropriate on so many levels in some of the rulings, including allowing a juror to take jury instructions home.
What does that say?
That is so
what is that?
Well, it just says this judge is simply out of control, that he is accustomed to doing things his way, will do whatever he wants to do, and he's not concerned about what is appropriate under these circumstances. It's never appropriate, in my humble impression, to allow jurors to take jury instructions or anything from the trial home with them. It's the exact opposite. What you are doing is telling them, do some research, check on the internet, talk to your family, talk to your friends. Because it doesn't matter how much you admonish them, but now you're taking case-related materials home with you. So now they can consult with every lawyer, everyone, do whatever they want to do to try to determine whether there should be an acquittal or a guilty verdict. I think it's completely inappropriate. It's not just as highly that it's not usual. It's improper. It's inappropriate. And I think, again, it's bringing to the forefront another appealable issue that the defense will be able to latch onto in the likely event that there is some type of a conviction on any count for Kyle Rittenhouse. I, too, like our esteemed senator, am not too optimistic that there will be a conviction, but I'm a little more optimistic today than I was when the jury was first charged because they are taking their time. And I believe there's a lot of strife and contention in the deliberation room. If there's contention, that means to me at least somebody believes that Kyle Rittenhouse should be held accountable. Now, whether that person will hold out, whether that person will cause a hung jury, whether how it plays out, I don't know. Whether the evidence of the video footage would help to persuade people who are on the fence, I don't know. But I do believe that the jury is taking their responsibilities seriously. So I think in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, maybe sometime next week we'll get a verdict.
Well, you know what? I just got Pastor Stephen Thurston up, teaching pastor from Salem Baptist Church, the House of Hope. He was moving over to this next case, and not that we're talking about Rittenhouse and the Arbery cases, everybody, because everybody's got a lot of thoughts about both. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. Reverend Thurston, we've got several cases before us, several legal issues. Of course, we had Mr. Jones, who was just let off of death row last night, but of course the Governor Stitt, the Oklahoma governor, put him in a bind. He can't do anything but sit in jail for the rest of his life, and we'll see if that will change. And of course, we've got the two gentlemen two of whom were accused of killing Malcolm X. They were just let out of prison. And then we have two gentlemen who helped to set up the riot in Charlottesville. They're on trial. And of course, we've got the McMichael father and son duo and Mr. William Roddy Bryan in the Ahmaud Arbery case and the Kyle Rittenhouse case. I've run out of breath. You were in Brunswick, Georgia yesterday after Mr. Goff, who is Mr. Bryan's defense counsel in the Ahmaud Arbery homicide case, the murder case. He said that he didn't want any more black pastors, certainly not in the courtroom, but you're part of the hundreds of black pastors who went down to Brunswick, Georgia yesterday. Why did you go and what did you see?
I went, Santita, because I was invited. When that gentleman stated that he no longer wanted any African-American pastors in that place, I took that as a personal invitation because I saw that statement as a diplomatic dog whistle. And what I'm suggesting by that is if we recall our history, for decades, for years, white men would call black men boys and tell them to stay in their place. And that's what I took that statement to be, because the black preacher is the freest black man in America. He's paid by black people, he's supported by black people, and speaks for black people. And we are an interdependent race. In spite of our issues and challenges amongst ourselves, we're a collective community. We come together when one brother or sister hurts, we all hurt. When one wins, we all win. And especially in the space of church and the spiritual leader. The spiritual leader is there from the cradle to the grave with families, with individuals. And so it was our responsibility to be there to support our sisters and our brothers and our family, to make sure that they knew that spiritually they were being supported and as a collective community. One final note, I have a friend whose godson was the best friend of the gentleman who was murdered. And he ended up showing up yesterday. He's been having a difficult time with the matter. And for him to see all of that clergy there, we had black clergy, we had white clergy, we had Jewish clergy. It was what heaven's going to look like. With predominantly black clergy. And he said to me, man, I'm inspired today by you all's presence. You could see some of the heaviness lift off of him as he saw the collective community from across the United States there to support that family in this time of need.
You know, because we didn't see that there were Jewish clergy and white clergy, but I knew that they would respond to the call too, because I think, you know, when you're clergy, you're clergy, period.
Yes. And as you know from your civil rights history, it takes all working together. There were gay clergy, there's straight clergy, everybody. It takes that rainbow coalition to fight the power. And it's always been my perception that it takes white people telling other white people to stop being racist, just like it takes men addressing other men when it comes to abuses against women. Men will listen to other men quicker, and I believe sometimes white people listen to other white people quicker and can call them out on some of their places of privilege in a way that African Americans may not be able to get through with clarity.
What did you feel? What are people saying about this trial down there?
There was a sense of hope in the air, in the atmosphere. It's clear to us, at least those of us who were there yesterday, that there's fear in the heart of the defense. Why do you keep focusing on us? Why do you keep trying to get the trial stopped because of the presence of clergy? Focus on your case. If your case is strong, you wouldn't have to worry about who's coming to be there as a source of support. And so we felt good yesterday, heard from Mom, and she was in good spirits yesterday. So we're hopeful that these gentlemen are going to be served justice because they murdered and lynched an innocent man in this modern era.
Attorney C.K. Hoffler, what is Kevin Goff doing, the defense counsel, who continues, because I'm convinced that he knows he's got an audience beyond the courtroom. He's got the jury, but he is also telegraphing messages to the world. He knows everybody in the world is watching this trial. What impact? And he's irritating the judge. At least that's the way it appears. What is the impact of his constant hammering home of we've got to keep these black creatures out of here? What is he doing?
Well, what he's doing is, one, he's preserving his record. That's the most charitable thing that I can say about what he's doing as a fellow officer of the court. The most charitable interpretation I could say, with merely one motion, not 5, not 4, but one motion, that he's preserving the record, he's protecting the record, he's preserving his appellate right. That's the most charitable thing I could say that he's doing. What I believe he's really doing is speaking to a broader audience, and he's spewing into the courtroom the venom of racial animus. He's being unethical, he's being unprofessional, he's being inappropriate, and he is indeed a disgrace to our profession. That's how I see it. And I call it, Santita, as you know, how I see it. And so I think that, again, if I'm being most charitable, he's preserving his record, and that would have been the first motion. And then that would have been it. The judge ruled, you can renew the motion without going through all this hyperbole. But he is doing something else. He's also speaking to a larger audience. He's also, because all that happens is getting back to the jurors. I mean, we know this. The jurors are hearing it. They're in a small community. Everybody knows each other. So I believe that his conduct in that regard, he's going to justify as protecting the interest and being a devil's advocate on behalf of his client. But he's doing so much more. And he's also taunting. He's really, really trying to make the judge, I believe, angry and to make some decisions that would be for sure have some traction on appeal. But thus far, I think the judge has maintained an appropriate temperament. I don't agree with all of the decisions that the judge has made, particularly in paneling and allowing this jury to go forward, knowing that there's intentional racism, as the judge articulated. I don't agree with that decision because the judge does have wide discretion and latitude. But I think the judge, in his rulings, consistently, certainly on issues involving the Black pastors and other issues of law, I think has been pretty consistent and level-handed and even-handed, much to the chagrin of the defense. They wanted to bring in a whole new case within a case at the last minute when the judge had already had a standing rule on a lot of those issues, wanting to bring in the character, more of the character relative to Ahmaud Arbery, his probation past, his mental illness past, all bring in experts who could speak to all kinds of things that the judge had already said was not appropriate. They renewed that motion, as they can do, to preserve on appeal, but it was the manner in which they renewed it and the justification. But having said that, he is not a bastion of example of anything for other lawyers out there. Indeed, I hope that there are young Black and brown lawyers and lawyers or young people, period, that are saying, I want to go into the legal profession, because I think that is a way of leveling the playing field, if you will, being an advocate for people who have no voice.
Attorney, Senator Taylor, you are a lawyer as well. I've got a couple of minutes. What do you make of this call by this attorney for Black pastors not to be in the courtroom and really not to be in Brunswick? Get out of town.
It reminds me of just historically telling Black folks, telling Black men where they should be and can't be, giving that direction. I like the statement of it was a dog whistle call to those that understand exactly where he's at and what he's saying. And I love that the pastor said he took it as a personal invitation that he was supposed to go. I felt the same way. I felt that's exactly what Reverend Jackson heard and why Reverend Jackson went. And I felt what the pastor said it did for the young man, what the young man articulated. I felt that that's exactly what was happening for the family, and why Reverend Sharpton, Reverend Jackson, why other rabbi and priests have come to be supportive of the family. I will tell you, it reminds me of some of the same dog whistle conversation that's happened in the courtroom by defense attorneys in the Rittenhouse case. It's some of the same, just some of the same actions.
Well, hold that thought. Hold that thought, because of course you've got to stay, because I want you to talk about the dog whistle politics. The dog whistle politics that we're hearing in these cases. Indeed, I was moved by this opinion piece in the Washington Post that the video made police injustice visible. Now that visibility is trickling up the courts. But we're seeing we're seeing how the sausage is made. We're seeing what we don't see. When we look at America has become the incarceration nation. We're the most incarcerating and incarcerated nation on earth. And now you see why. Now you see why poor Black and brown young people and our elders get into the prison system and they can never get out. Now you're seeing how it happens. You're seeing what judges do. You're seeing what prosecutors do, what defense counsel do. You're seeing all of that. So what do you make of it? What do you make of it? And what do you make of the call for Black pastors to get in their place? Well, Pastor Stephen Thurston said, I took it as a personal invitation to be there, because that is my place. The world is my stage. It is where I'm supposed to heal. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. 773-763-9278. The Santita Jackson Show on WCPT and AM 950 Radio.
You can change the world.
Pastor Thurston?
He just dropped.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes, Gene, incarceration nation. That's what it is. What it is. And I think because the politics are in this, CK, and Senator Taylor. I mean, the politics are in this, and this dog whistle thing that we got going. It's real. It is real. And I just see these lawyers making a case to different audiences because they know this is being carried on television.
Well, did you hear, Santita, what the judge said in regards to whether or not he would want to let live TV in his courtroom for a trial again, and what he did with MSNBC?
Oh, well, I expected him to do well.
He's barred them from the courtroom now.
Well, now, well, this is what happened, and this is where you have to get real, dig in the weeds here. This freelance reporter who was working for MSNBC, they suspected was trailing the bus that was carrying the jury. I've been in national media, and so
Correct. Based on if I could just
of course,
add,
please elaborate.
Based on what law enforcement shared with them,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not certain if you saw the gentleman who came with the rifle in front of the courthouse, Mike, whatever he called himself, and law enforcement immediately went to speak to him to ask him to put his weapon back in his vehicle, and he ultimately did. But the way, and of course he was a white guy,
mm-hmm.
and the way that they handled that situation versus if it would have been someone else.
Of course.
On a case where someone brings a rifle, comes from somewhere else, brings a rifle, and ultimately is on trial for the actions that happened that they used with the rifle. So I do want to say that the Michael Bell case is an example, of where they show that law enforcement in the area, has not always handled investigations and handled things appropriately. So I know there's another police chief and so on and so forth. But I'm just saying, I want us to look at things through a full lens of who's reporting, who's saying what. The guy says he wasn't doing that at all, that there was misunderstanding. I don't know. I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
No, that's why I'm saying I'm trying to find out what happened. Because, look, all of the corporate media, MSNBC, Fox and MSNBC are across the street from each other. And CNN is up the street in New York. They all end up working together. I had a meeting with because I'd been pulled into television for some years. In 2008, in the beginning of 2009, I had a meeting at MSNBC, and then I had one at Fox. And the executive I was meeting with wanted to know where I was going. And then she had the feeling I was on my way over to Fox. Well, guess what? She had just interviewed with Fox. Oh, liberal MSNBC. She was considering making a move over to Fox. And so when they telegraph these things to the broader public, we think they're just blocking this liberal outlet. And maybe, Judge Schroeder, that's what he's doing. But I guess I just try to share things because I want everyone to know all these folks they're eating out the same trough. The corporate media. That's where you have to keep broader media alive.
Exactly, which is why I find it difficult to believe that someone would be, deliberately following, the jury in that way, especially if they say that they were not. So I lean towards believing that media wouldn't do that since they know that they want to be there, and they know that would be inappropriate. I want to believe that they wouldn't, but a freelance person could.
Oh, there's just a lot going on. We've got Attorney Jones, Daryl Jones. Thank you for joining us once again today.
Sure. Good morning, Santita. Great to join you as well.
You all did a marvelous job yesterday. And I certainly want to hear about the march. And we've got Shapiro Wells. She's going to talk to us about all this wonderful food she's making for the holiday. But I know she wants to chime in on this. Shapiro, what do you want to say about before we come on the air? What do you want to say about what you've seen?
I think it's crazy, Santita, what's happening. But I think that with Travis McMichael, I thought that she actually could have done better than what she did. I think that she was too relaxed, I was waiting for her to say, and you killed him, and you shot him dead. I wanted some dramatic, and she just didn't give me that. So I was just like, whatever. But I think she accomplished what she needed to accomplish, but I don't know if, she gave the bang that she could have given to him.
Well, I mean, CK, Attorney Jones, Attorney Taylor, what do you think? I got about a minute. No, I don't even have a minute. You know what? Hold that to the other side. Hold that, please. Hold that thought. Hold that, please. And I'll ask you all about that. And, and Daryl, please cite the actions of the prosecutor just after the killing of Ahmaud Arbery again.
1 minute.
Everybody was so struck by that yesterday. And you have to say it every opportunity you can. Every opportunity that presents itself, say it, please. Because people need to know just how far down the rabbit hole this has gone, this corruption. They need to know. It's shocking. I saw a lot of emoji yesterday. Red faces and all that. So stay right there, everybody.
30.
Okay.
It's hard for people to believe this happens, but it does happen every day.
I'm so glad that we're seeing it. Stand by.
Yeah, and there are millions of cases where there are no eyes on it.
That's right. Under the cover of darkness, and I do mean pun intended. This is what's happening. Stand by.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. Yes, we took up the mantle of Air America, and now we are WCPT and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's Friday, November 19th, 2021, 6 days until Thanksgiving, and wow. Things are on and cracking in the great old USA. We've got so many great opportunities to look at the judicial system, and to look at how we treat each other. We're looking at the McMichael Bryan murder trial. They've been charged with the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. What's going to happen in that case? What happened yesterday as the preachers and the activists, the Transformative Justice Coalition, have been on the front lines of that case for weeks. They've been down there almost leading an almost lonely vigil, but they were joined by hundreds of people yesterday. Can't wait to speak with their chair, Attorney Daryl Jones, about that. And of course, we're still with Lieutenant Governor candidate from Wisconsin, Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor. And of course, we have seen our own legal eagle, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, on ABC, on MSNBC, on BNC, just all over the place. We're so proud of her, of course, on Courtroom TV, talking about the Rittenhouse and the Ahmaud Arbery cases. So let's talk about that, everybody. I want to hear your voices today at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. You can text me at that number as well. Let's get to some of these headlines so we can get on with the show. Chicago, we will have a high of 39 degrees today, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 41 degrees cloudy. The Dow closed down 60 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed up 72 points. The S&P 500 closed up 15 points. In football, it was not even close. It was a blowout yesterday. The Patriots are doing a great job of rebuilding their team, 25-0 over the Falcons. Wow. And in the NBA, the Timberwolves were triumphant over the Spurs. The Timberwolves 115, the Spurs 90. Well, the Bulls had the night off, but they will be playing tonight. The Nuggets, everybody. And in the NHL, the Wild, well, they had a good time with the Stars. The Wild 7, the Stars 2. And Chicago will be playing the Oilers tomorrow. What about Congress? Well, Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, spoke for 8 hours in his attempt to push back the vote on the Build Back Better Act. It should be voted on about now, everybody. Congress has reopened, but they just closed about 2.5, 3 hours ago. Unbelievable. He's calling the Build Back Better bill the single most reckless spending bill in U.S. history, despite it being a fraction of the cost of the tax cuts he championed just 4 years ago, everybody. His speech was delivered with a group of Republicans seated in the House chamber and packed with strange personal anecdotes and irrelevant asides, everybody. It began late Thursday and ended, like I said, just about 2 hours ago, everybody. Unbelievable, everybody. But they're going to be voting on Build Back Better in just a few hours today on Friday. And let's get on with it, everybody. Travis McMichael testifies that he misspoke to the police after killing Ahmaud Arbery. I just killed a man. That is what he has said, but he can't quite get the story straight. MSNBC was banned from the Rittenhouse, from the courthouse where the Rittenhouse case has been held. What is going on there? Matt Gaetz, the congressman from Florida, said, "You know what? I think that Kyle Rittenhouse would make an excellent congressional intern, and if he wants, he can work for me." It doesn't get any better than that, everybody. But before I get to that, let me talk to you. Chapearl Celebrations by Us. Chapearl. I've got to put my order in today. Yes, I am going to put in an order for several items. So what can we get? Everybody, this is the last day. Chapearl's getting very strict because she's got a full.
Yes, Santita, this is our last day that we're taking orders for the Thanksgiving holiday, but we'll be back on Monday trying to get some orders for Christmas.
Thank you.
So right now we have our turkey, our dressing, mac and cheese, green beans, greens, mostaccioli, Cajun pasta, whatever it is that you need, we have it. And don't forget our desserts, our peach cobbler, banana pudding, caramel cake, pound cake, whatever it is that you need for your dessert or your home table. Give us a call, 708-526-4546. That's 708-526-4546. We're here, available, ready to take your order. And you can also reach us on Celebrations by Us on Facebook and celebrationsbyus.org on the World Wide Web. Thank you so much, Santita.
And and people can order out of town, and you will ship it to them. Yes.
Yes, we do shipping, and we freeze it, and all you have to do is just thaw and bake. We got you ready.
Okay. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to get mine. I'm making my order today. Not going to get a lot, but I'm going to get enough. Everybody. Chapearl, I know you have something to say about these trials. What is it?
Yes, like I was saying during the break, Santita, one of my things that I expected this prosecutor and the McMichael trial to actually hit him hard. I think that she was very lenient toward him, and she really could have been a lot more aggressive in getting him to admit that he actually tracked down. I wanted to hear her say, you ran him down, you tracked him, even though he was trying to flee for 5 minutes, and you shot him dead. She should have had some kind of dramatic effects. She was just too calm for me. So I was kind of displeased. I don't know how it went over with the jury or the audience, but for me, I thought that she could have really hit him hard, even though she did accomplish what she wanted to accomplish. But I think the whole entire thing could have been a lot worse. She still has to work harder. I think she made herself have to work harder to prove her case instead of being a slam dunk.
Attorney Darrell Jones, chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Of course, the founder and president is the great attorney Barbara Arnwine. She's probably our foremost civil rights attorney, voting rights attorney in the United States today. And of course, we've got attorney C.K. Hoffler. She is the immediate past president of the National Bar Association, the largest and oldest black bar association in the world. In the world, everybody, more than 65,000 lawyers. She's also the chair of Rainbow Push, but you can catch her on. She's been on ABC, she's been on MSNBC, she's been on BNC, she's on Courtroom TV, analyzing the McMichael Bryan murder case, charged in the homicide, the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, but they also have her talking about the Rittenhouse case. And of course, we've got Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor, who is a practicing attorney as well. But she's running for lieutenant governor, and we're very excited about her run because we certainly want someone like her in the room. Let me start with you, though, Attorney Darrell Jones, chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition. You all have been leading almost a lonely vigil, but now more and more people are coming to Brunswick, Georgia. What did you hear? What did you hear when you, because now Chaparral is not a lawyer. Okay, so there are many calculations that lawyers make. At least that's our take on it. What do you make of the prosecution's case? I mean, have they made a solid case, do you think, or is there any space for anyone to be acquitted?
And, Santita, first, let me thank you for having us on and for providing the forum and to opening up the information so that your listeners and everyone has an opportunity to understand and hear what's going on here down in Brunswick, Georgia. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
What happens here with Travis McMichael? When we spoke yesterday, one of the closing remarks that I challenged and reached out and saying that I was really looking forward to watching this cross-examination because there were so many statements that Travis McMichael had given to police when this incident occurred. And it's, what we in the legal profession call the excited utterance, meaning that this statement that you're given is so close to the incident, you're still under the excitement of what has happened, that the richness of the information that you're giving is bound to be closer to what really occurred, what you really did. And that's what he had to overcome. And I don't think that he did it. And I thought that the prosecution was very effective at using his prior statements when he was under the excitement of what occurred, rather than the changes that he made once he came to testify. Because you got to remember, when Travis comes to testify, the defense attorney for hours has been preparing him, working with his responses. They now have an idea of the strategy they want to use, so they're trying to get him to testify in ways that will fit into that strategy. And they had to overcome his prior statements. And what the prosecutor in this case, I think, did very effectively was walking him through his statements that he gave at the time that he provided them to police, as opposed to what he's now saying when there's no police talking to him and he's had a chance to talk to defense attorneys and work the strategy. And what I heard Chaparral saying really was the effectiveness of what that prosecutor did. And, while we all would love to see that drop the mic moment, where she turns his back and drops it on him, that's not necessarily the most effective way with the jury. Mm-hmm. And, the prosecutor is putting on the case for the jury. While America loves to see a good trial, you have to know the jury and the makeup of the jury with which you're dealing with. And it may be a situation where she was trying to be certain to not be offensive to the members of the jury, but wanting to win them over with the arguments and understanding the discrepancies in the information that Travis had provided. So I think that she was very successful in doing that and listening to like Chaparral's response and other responses about, he's just a liar, she really got him. Those are the points that you're looking for, I think, in this type of jury trial.
What happened yesterday with the marches? It seems that things have gotten, with this call for Black pastors not to be there, it just seems it sparked something. What about in the community as well?
Well, Santita, it was a phenomenal response from the community. Since we've been here prior to the trial. We've been here since October. We've been here prior to October with the family. And the community response had been very low. There was not an overwhelming response that was coming from the community. But slowly, as we've been doing marches, we've been doing Justice for Ahmaud marches throughout Brunswick and throughout the poor neighborhoods here in Brunswick. And the more marches we've done, and we do them every Thursday, but every Thursday that we've done, more and more members from the community are joining in. We were calling them off the sidewalk to the street, telling them it was time to stand up. And when Kevin Goff went after Reverend Jackson and went after Black pastors and went after the Transformative Justice Coalition, our lawyer, C.K. Hoffler, can tell you, they came after us, wanted to kick us out of the courtroom so they could do their nastiness under the cover of darkness. so that no one would know what was going on, and they could do what they wanted to do. But that wasn't going to happen. And so when Goff did the attack on the black pastors, did the attack on TJC, what happened was the black pastors then came out. And so we had, over 100, 200, whatever the number was of black pastors. There was just a sea of pastors. But it wasn't just black pastors, because we also had rabbis, we had imams, we had, across the litany, white pastors, everyone was coming out. And so yesterday you just saw that showing of a solidarity amongst the religious lines, amongst the allies of those that support black pastors. And so when we went into the community march, we had the black pastors that were with us. We had, the full panoply of folks that were there, young folks, older folks, people on strollers. Santita, there was a lady that only had one leg and had the artificial leg. She marched the 2 miles with us that entire way. We had an 87-year-old lady that had a walker. She walked the entire thing, encouraging people to come out, get in the streets, and support this justice movement for Ahmaud. So what they ended up doing, what they intended for evil, God turned it for good and had this community turned out, and this community is on fire. They're involved, they're watching, they're not afraid any longer. They've been supported by not just local folks, but by national people that have come in to provide them with support, and that's what's happening down here.
But they've also been very active. You shared something with us yesterday that I'd like for you to share once again. What happened in the immediate aftermath of the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, an exchange that Travis McMichael's father had with the state prosecutor. Please speak to that and how she is now under indictment.
Oh, absolutely, Santita. And when I say we're here for the entirety, that includes the trial that's going on now, the federal hate crimes trial, and what's getting ready to happen with Jacqueline Johnson. So what happens is Jacqueline Johnson is the state prosecutor who is elected by the citizens of Glenn County to protect them from crimes. So in this particular situation, what happens is after Ahmaud Arbery is killed by the white three vigilantes, Gregory McMichael was a Glenn County police officer, former Glenn County police officer for, I believe, 30 years or so. He then went and worked for Jacqueline Johnson as her investigator for crimes stemming out of the state's attorney's office. Well, he is the father of Travis McMichael, one of the three vigilantes that's involved in this case. After Travis kills Ahmaud Arbery, the police are called. When the police are there, they do not arrest them or anything else. They don't take gunshot residue. They don't seize their clothing. It's covered with blood. None of that. Gregory McMichael, in the interim, contacts his former boss, Jacqueline Johnson, who is the state's attorney, and she directs the police to stand down, not to arrest them. Directs Gregory and Travis to go home, wash up, wash your hands. That's getting rid of evidence in this case. This is what they're directed to do by Jacqueline Johnson. And so following that, some hours later, because you see in the trial that Travis McMichael and Gregory McMichael go to give statements to the police, but that's not until they've gone home. And at the time that they go, let's be clear, at the time that they go, they are not under arrest. They're not arrested at the scene. They're not arrested when they go give statements. They go back home. William Roddy Bryan, who was the third person that was there with them, after the shooting, he goes back home and continues to work on his house like nothing's happened. So that's what was happening with Jacqueline Johnson. And so as a result of that, and it wasn't until Marcus Arbery, the father of Ahmaud, starts going down to Jacqueline Johnson's office, demanding to know what happened to his father, his son, demanding to know, it didn't make sense. She was lying to him. She told him that his son had been killed in a house. But when he got back to Brunswick from Florida, where he had been working as an over-the-road driver, he learned where Ahmaud's body was found, and it was nowhere near where Jacqueline Johnson and the police had represented. So they were lying to him all along. He goes down there and continues to demand the information. They subsequently release the filming of it because of the demands by Marcus Arbery. And that's when the world begins to see what happened. So from all of that, Santita, what's happening is that the Arbery family goes against Jacqueline Johnson as she's up for re-election at that time. And they're beyond the period for people to file for state's attorney. So the Arbery family petitions and finds someone to run. They petition to get the signatures to get somebody else on the ballot. Once they have the person on the ballot, they work with the others that are against Jacqueline Johnson to have her defeated in her state's attorney re-election bid. And for the first time in Glenn County's history, they have an incumbent prosecutor that was defeated at their election time. That's the story of what's going on here. Jacqueline Johnson now is under indictment because of that obstruction of justice, because of the abuse of office while she was there. She's now under indictment, and that trial date, I don't believe, has been set, but we will be here whenever that occurs.
See, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, I want a minute from you and a minute from State Senator Taylor. Well, before I go to you, C.K., State Senator Taylor, I mean, you're an elected official. What about that story?
That is an amazing example of what it means to show up and to be involved. It's an inspiration to be able to see what follow-up can do and what accountability can happen if you get involved. That is, I'm speechless almost to hear, because, first of all, going against an incumbent is difficult. Going against an incumbent prosecutor is even more difficult. Going against an incumbent prosecutor and getting them defeated is virtually impossible. And getting them indicted? I mean, this is accountability at a level that inspires me as someone who is elected, someone who encourages people, to be involved and to be engaged. But what it also says is, if you aren't present, if you don't follow up, if you don't seek help, that people will continue to get away with the kind of privileged behavior that she allowed them to get away with. And I never could imagine that a prosecutor would have told someone to go home and clean up, tell the police to step down. Completely inappropriate behavior as an officer of the court. That is completely inappropriate behavior, and more importantly, as a prosecutor. So I'm proud of those people, and I encourage people to take that as a lesson of what we can do around the nation.
CK, I got a minute.
I think I would tend to agree, and I think I would go even further and say this is why we need to vote. We need to register to vote. We need to look at who we are voting for judges, the clerk of court, the prosecutors, all of those people, and hold their feet to the fire. What the Arbery family did is something that should be written in history books. That's what, and it is something that certainly we should know, and we should be preaching, and we should be spreading that word, because it was a game changer. It is a game changer. And as for the activists and the ministers who are there supporting the Arbery family, and it's not just the activists and ministers, because of their efforts, there are hundreds of thousands of people throughout the country, and I would even say probably millions of people, if you include people throughout the world, who are watching and standing in solidarity because of the efforts of Transformative Justice Coalition, Rainbow Push Coalition, Reverend Jackson, the ministers. And so there is power in solidarity, and there's power in voting. There's power in refusing to be denied, and that's what we need to do. No matter what the verdict is, we must refuse to be denied and insist on justice.
Everybody, what do you make of the cover-up in the Ahmaud Arbery case? What do you make of that? I mean, that is something I think, Daryl, that should be repeated every day. That's why I thank you for coming back on, because I said you need to say that every chance you get. Give people that story, because when people hear that story, they see something else in this case. It's about much more than what we are seeing and much more than we are being told by the corporate media. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Now this prosecutor is under indictment, and she should be. But who else? A lot of people were in this. Remember, it took us 2 months to see what had happened to Ahmaud. 2 months. What about the Rittenhouse case? Where do you think this is all going? Now you have a Congressman Matt Gaetz, who says, you know what, he'd make a fine congressional intern. Seriously? I know I was a congressional intern in college. Are you for real? I'm back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute.
Everyone, everywhere, take the time.
I mean, can you believe he offered him a job?
Offered him a job. And then I think he would be just a fine example. But he's not the only one. As we know, he has his own very significant issues.
Of course.
As we see, Kyle Rittenhouse is a folklore hero. He has become a folklore hero. And that's why he has the most prominent jury consultants that money can buy. That's why he has.
What, Joanne Demetrius, is it?
Yeah, one of the,
From the O.J. Simpson trial.
From the O.J. Simpson trial. It's not just.
Was it Joe Ellen? Is it Joe Ellen? Joe Ellen or Joanne? Joe Ellen Demetrius? She is quite good. Whatever it is, she is quite good, although But he's raised so much money, so he has a dream team, right?
He has a dream team, but it's not that he's raised the money. People are volunteering to give him money. Wow. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Law enforcement alike.
To raise money. Right.
Right? I mean, all these... Daryl, see what you've started? No one knows these details, Daryl Jones. And they need to be repeated constantly.
I'm in complete agreement with you, Cynthia, and particularly when you start, peeling this onion to see what really is there. And it gives it just a complete different understanding of the importance of following a lot of these cases closely. One of the things that I always say regarding this case here in Brunswick, a very small area, one of the poorest counties in the state of Georgia, one of the things I continually say is this is a case that now has national spotlight on it. And this is what's happening in a case where everyone is watching. Can you imagine the hundreds of cases that have gone here where no one has been watching?
Unbelievable.
What must have been going on?
Well, but Daryl, I think about it every day, all over the country. I mean, because, Judge Schroeder is the longest-serving jurist in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
He did allowing the men who were shot and killed to be called victims. That's standard operating practice in his courtroom. This is how he does things. Y'all, this is not personal. It is personal, but it's not. This is how he does it. And I just think about we have clogged up the prison pipeline, Daryl, and CK and Lena. And you can see how it's happened. Daryl, you have got to write about what you have seen down there. Even if you do a little op-ed piece on the prosecutor, you got to do that. You explain it brilliantly. But people need to know about that. I think it would really be very impactful if people knew about that little piece.
Well, and Santita, I will say this. Media does know about that. They are choosing not to cover that. A lot of people know about this information. Yeah, people. Well, yeah, but people get their information from different media outlets and social media as well as television, print media, and all that. It's just that it's not been something that people tend to focus on, and therefore
back in 30,
focusing on other things because it's not as sensationalized. It's not as for some people, but it is really important. But I do want to be clear. A lot of people know about this. The Justice Department knows about it.
Of course they do.
There's going to be a trial about this. A lot of people, but
15.
It's not something that generally media has focused on.
Hold that thought. No, they don't. They don't want us to know about it, CK. I'm going there. 5. You don't have to. I am. They don't. They have the power to let.
Change the world, change the world. can change the world. We can change the world. Change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. We've been talking about the Rittenhouse case, the Ahmaud Arbery case, of course, McMichael, the McMichael father and son, and William Roddy Bryan are on trial for. They've been charged with the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. And we've been talking with Attorney Darrell Jones, chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition. He and Attorney Barbara Arnwine have been there since the beginning, trying to get justice for this family. There's so much that has happened. And just one little piece of this, Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor and Attorney C.K. Hoffler. We've seen you all over television all week on MSNBC and ABC and DNC and Courtroom TV, and thank goodness for that. And we hope to see more of you analyzing these cases. Hey, just to know that a prosecutor would interfere in this way. And you're right, CK, as we've been talking, doing our crosstalk, if you all watch us on YouTube, on the Santita Jackson Show, or on the Santita Jackson Friends page on Facebook, you're right, the media know this, but they have chosen not to share this. And then they get us diverted on all of this other foolishness. But everyone ought to know this prosecutor, CK. Everybody ought to know what she did. Everybody ought to know that Mr. McMichael had her on speed dial and that she told the police to stand down and told them to go home and wash up and rid yourself of the evidence of murdering this young man. CK, this is awful.
It's awful. It's awful. It's unbelievable. But all of this is coming to light. So, again, and this is a case where it's come to light. I would submit, Santita, like Darrell said, there are hundreds, thousands of cases where this type of injustice or worse happens, and no one knows about it. And so I think that, there's so many, the silver lining in the cloud of pain for the Arbery families, that they've made a difference. They have changed. They have moved the pendulum. And for those who are protesting and staying in solidarity, they've made a change that the world is looking at. The world is looking at. And hopefully there will be lessons learned that we will take and apply those lessons and take it to the next level.
Well,
and people understand the importance of voting.
Oh my gosh.
Up for jury duty.
Because if you're not voting, you are not in the mix at all. But Attorney Jones, what's next? I mean, because many of us are waiting for closing arguments on Monday in the Arbery case. The jury, of course, will be deliberating. But you said that there are more trials coming.
No, absolutely. There are more trials coming. And the other piece that, Santita, I want to be certain that people understand with regards to the Jacqueline Johnson case, and that State versus Jacqueline Johnson, who was the prosecutor in Glenn County. One of the other things folks really need to understand about what happened with her is that once she was caught up and had to assess that, there is this conflict of interest that existed for her, she then referred the case to a second prosecutor that was in a neighboring county. When she referred the case, and she selected where she wanted to refer the McMichael case, the prosecutor in the neighboring county where she referred this matter to be prosecuted, to be reviewed, who looked at it and said, this is self-defense, we want to let this go, there's nothing that's indictable here. That prosecutor worked for Jacqueline Johnson. He came out of her office. That prosecutor was also one of the ones that, when with Jacqueline Johnson, worked with Gregory McMichael, right? The defendant in the case and a former investigator for the Glenn County State's Attorney's Office. So, you had this double whammy that was going on. That first she tries to cover it up herself right there in Glenn County. She then gets caught up. She refers it out to outside prosecutor to the neighboring county, but where she refers it is to somebody with whom she has influence and will try to protect her. And so that's what happens when that case is then referred out. It was only after that the Georgia Bureau of Investigations gets involved in the investigation of this case. And when GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, gets involved, within 2 days, these folks are arrested. Within 2 days, these folks are arrested. They have been out doing whatever they wanted to do from February 23rd, 2020, when the murder occurs, until May 21st. So some 64 days. So it really just goes to show the level of nastiness, the level of collusion, the level of just, wrong activity that Jacqueline Johnson was up to, trying to cover up this case. And the deeper she got, it looked like the deeper she went. She kept going deeper. And there are going to be other cases, I'm sure they're going to become uncovered, that Jacqueline Johnson has done this to other blacks that are here in Glynn County. I can tell you, Santita, that we're regularly having people come up to us when we do our marches, when we do our court watches, telling us what happened to their loved ones under Jacqueline Johnson, their young black sisters and brothers, under her, how she's treated them, what she's done to them. So, this is just the beginning of pulling the scales off this fish and seeing what's out there. I think there's a lot that's there, and we're going to see a lot more. So, the prosecution, when the case is prosecuted for Jacqueline Johnson, we anticipate a lot more information coming out at that time. The federal hate crimes case that is pending here in Glynn County will begin February 2022. We'll be here for that. And that, again, is going to be another opportunity to hear even more information about what the federal government was able to uncover when they went through everything. Because there's additional information that's out there that we don't even know yet. But we know that the federal government has a bunch of information regarding this case that hasn't been released in the state case. So there's more information that's going to be coming. And, we certainly encourage everybody to, number one, keep the Arbery family in your prayers. They have had an extremely difficult, couple of weeks here of trial. Watching your baby boy, because this was Marcus Arbery's youngest son, watching your baby boy killed, and then seeing the gruesome photos of the shotgun where it injured him and came through, went all the way through him. He had to stand, and the mom had to sit and watch this. Sit and watch this. And do you know that Kevin Goff, the attorney for William Ryan, had the capacity to make a motion asking that the mother not weep, that her weeping was distracting to the jury and was going to prejudice the jury? This is the motion that this guy makes. Folks, please keep the Arbery family in your prayer. They need you. They really, really need you.
I mean, Senator Taylor, what do you make of that?
The first thing I just have to comment on, do not weep. Just the ridiculous motions that are dog whistle, just filled with hate and inconsideration. And, oh, my goodness, it's just too much. I'm so glad that the pastors and Daryl and Transformative Justice Movement are there to show support for this family. It also makes me think about, the things that the prosecutor did. It makes me think about the killing of Malcolm X and individuals who have sat for years, died, being convicted when there was evidence, when there were things that specifically pointed to other individuals who were present, who fit the description. We know the difference between light skin and dark skin, and the fact that those pieces of evidence weren't shared, that those by the FBI to law enforcement, it created an issue. That's the same concept that I see and hear, and what the prosecutor did, and then who she referred the case to. I mean, these are the kinds of pieces of privilege and discretion that happen behind the cloak, of white privilege for individuals. And so it's disheartening. But what I love is that the arc of justice is bending. And it's bending because people stood up. It's bending because transformative justice is there. It's bending because the Arbery family has refused to refuse to stop until they get justice. And so I'm glad to see what they've been able to do to, forever change
the justice system in their area, to forever change people feeling just a little more hopeful to stand up and to fight back.
Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-WCPT. It's surprising. We're not hearing about the, just really all of the activity around the courthouse in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Senator Taylor, I mean, thank you for describing that in the first hour, because it's just, you have no idea that there's all of this activity. What is it feeling like in Wisconsin now? Are things becoming more tense? What's happening there?
I think they are becoming a little more tense because more and more people are coming around. More days of deliberation brings a different level of angst for people of what's going to happen. But I think just like, the work that Transformative Justice is doing, that people are out there to bring awareness, to stand up and say they want to believe that there will be justice for all, that there's not a bifurcated system that treats individuals who are white one way and individuals who are not another for doing activities that would be the same. I don't know that the judge has allowed other individuals with gun cases to get those cases dismissed, or whether or not people who have been peacefully even protesting got their tickets dismissed for curfew or things like that across Wisconsin, not just in Kenosha. So, is it a little more tense? Yes, it is. But I believe that the growing crowd that's outside is necessary, so that the families inside and the victims' families that are outside know that they are supported, that they do not stand alone. And especially as Kyle Rittenhouse continues to get support. I mean, the amount of dollars that were put up for his bail, the amount of money that has been raised for his defense, and that the fact that a large portion of that has come from law enforcement and prosecutors, it is really that same thing that we just got done talking about in the Aubrey case, in the Mike McMichaels, and Bryant case. It's the same concept. And so it's really important, that people are engaged. So I don't think it's a negative energy, Santita. When I went there, I was embraced with love from individuals that are out there thanking me for coming to the steps and showing up. The media was immediately around me to ask, why was I present? And I immediately articulated, because I've been supporting the Blake family from day one and want there not to be a message that vigilantes should be coming from across state lines to do what law enforcement has done, can do, and will do going forward, that we don't want to send a message, whether it is in the McMichaels trial and the Bryant trial, or whether it is in the Rittenhouse trial. We do not want vigilantes going out, doing the job of law enforcement, proclaim that they're doing what they're doing, which is hate crimes, that they're doing the things that they're doing out of protection for property and people. That's just a bunch of hogwash. And so we don't want that. We don't want to send that message, because I think that message will make for even larger problems across the nation.
Well, is
One
anyone...
guy came with a rifle. He came with a rifle to the courthouse, but the sheriff immediately went and told him to put it back and asked him, to put it back, and he left.
But what about the 2 men he killed? Where are their families? Is anyone talking about them at all?
Yes,
Mr. Rosenbaum
there.
and Mr. Huber?
They're out there. I actually spoke with one family member when I was there. They're out there. They're on the steps. They're protesting. They've spoken with the media. But that's my point. That same way that the pastors have gone to the McMichaels and Bryant trial in order to support, the Aubrey family, and, the way that Reverend put his arm around Mom. That's what people are doing for
the victim's family in the Rittenhouse case also.
Well,
right on the steps of the court.
Well, it's very interesting, Attorney Jones. They are the people who've been victimized. They're almost taking a secondary role to the defense of these white men and white teenagers. Am I misreading this?
No, I think that you're completely accurate. They should are taking a secondary role in the situation. But one of the things that that I like to that I wanted to lift up, particularly with the Ahmaud Arbery case, is this: we know that they chased him and they hunted him. And the father, Gregory McMichael, certainly made the statement that they trapped him like a rat, trapped like a rat, as they were blocking him in to kill him, to execute him. And they were filming all of this. William Rodney Bryan was filming all of this with his phone. And the question is, why was he filming it? And what I like to lift up is this: we know that in the history of this country, when there were lynchings that occurred, because this was nothing but lynching, when there were lynchings that occurred, that there were white folk that attended this lynching that would cut pieces off the body as memento. Mm-hmm. And they were there, what they were able to witness and what they were able to show with their exertion over this poor black person. Well, I say that this filming by William Rodney Bryant was going to be the memento, that same memento. Man, and keeping the film so they can show it to their friends. Why else would you film this? Why else would you film it other than a memento? So when we're talking about trying to be certain that the complete story is told and having it framed correctly, we need to understand, I think, what was going on here, because this was nothing but a lynching. This is what this was a lynching, and the memento was the film that now is being turned against them, that will hopefully land them in prison for the rest of their lives in this matter.
How did the film get out?
Because
I was hearing a different narrative about it yesterday in court, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way that the film really gets out.
Okay, we have you in a bad place.
Okay.
We're just trying to get the signal right.
Okay. Jacqueline Johnson, the prosecutor in this case, had the film from the evening that they interviewed the McMichaels and Bryant. They had the film. They had the footage, and they sat on it. They didn't acknowledge that it existed at all. It didn't get out until Marcus Arbery, Ahmaud's dad, and I'll tell the story. Marcus Arbery, Ahmaud's dad, got together with his brothers, and his brothers and him met with their wives and said they were going to transfer all the property over to their wives' name because they were going down there and something was going to happen. And they went down to the prosecutor's office to demand what was happening and letting them know that they weren't leaving. And they meant business. And it was following that the promise was made to release that film that the world now has come to see. That's how that film got released. That's how we got to the point of being able to see what actually went on. And, of course, from there, what unfolded was that the nation was just aghast at what they saw. And all the demands were made and went to GBI, and there subsequently was the arrest. But that's how the film gets released. If you listen to the testimony and to the dates, you'll hear this great gap in the dates of when things occurred, when the killing occurred to when actions on the arrest occurred. That's because of everything that we've just laid out. It wasn't that they were doing this major investigation. No, that was the point that they had suppressed it all and they weren't going to do anymore. And so it wasn't until, those demands are made later that the arrest and everything else starts to unfold. Interestingly, the judge would not allow any of the testimony with regards to what happened with the Glenn County Police and Jacqueline Johnson in the investigation in this case. That was suppressed. The state wasn't permitted to present that to the jury so they could hear the cover-up and stuff that was going on. It's just incredible.
It is incredible. I'm going to get closing thoughts from each of you. Attorney C.K. Hoffler, where can we see you today and over the next few days. Of course, you're going to be on Keep Hope Alive. All of you will this weekend, hopefully, if you all have breaks in your schedule. Attorney Hoffler, what should we be looking for? Because we've got one eye on the Rittenhouse case, another eye on the McMichael Bryan case. Well, she might have had to go already. That's right, because she has to be on television. Everybody check out C.K. Hoffler. She'll be on the B&C channel, on ABC, on MSNBC, on Courtroom TV, and on and on and on and on. Okay, future Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Wisconsin, State Senator Lena Taylor. What should be our takeaway?
Well, I think the first thing that people should do is know that it is important to be informed. To be informed, stay connected to Santita so that you hear from her shows, what's going on. You support CK when she's on MSNBC and CNN and Court TV, so that you can hear the information and the facts, that you listen for where Daryl and Transformative Justice and Rainbow Push are going to be, so that you can hear the facts with accuracy and with truth, and with a twist that will be a civil rights twist that needs to be heard in America for us to, make the dream real, right? Mm-hmm. But then you need to ask yourself when you get informed, because when we know better, we should do better. So how are you going to be involved? If you can't go to the steps of the courthouse, if you can't be there to show support for the organization that are creating the support that those individuals need while they are in the valley, while they are in these hard places that they are going through that are emotionally traumatizing, that the trauma you can't physically see necessarily. So how can you support them? Donate to those organizations so that those organizations can do the work that you and your feet aren't doing, but has to be done in order to support people like the Albury family who have transformed history in their community, in their state, and frankly, in this nation. And so that takes an energy that comes from a spiritual relationship. So pastors, it's a call to you, a clarion call, to go and stand with families near you that are on TV like these and those that are not, because they are a reflection of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who experience these things and have to go on these journeys alone. So, and then lastly, I'll say is just know that the action, that your action, that you're voting, that you're being engaged, that you're giving, that it can make a difference. It can make a difference. It can feel overwhelming. But when we stand together, when we put the unity in community, when we do that, we can make a difference. And if you want to help me be at the table so that we're not on the menu, go to GoLenaTaylor.com and support me in my run for Lieutenant Governor in the state of Wisconsin.
GoLenaTaylor.com, everybody. GoLenaTaylor.com. The last minute belongs to you, Attorney Daryl Jones, Chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. We're so grateful to you and Barbara Arnwine for the work that you all have been doing.
Well, thank you, Santita, and thank you for being such a strong supporter of the Transformative Justice Coalition. We have a great partnership with Rainbow Push, and it's just been a spectacular opportunity for us to work together. I this information to get involved.
1 minute.
We have to get you in the right place, Attorney Jones. I know you're down there. They don't have strong signals down there.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. We're encouraging people to get off of the sidewalks and get into the streets. We need you to join organizations like Rainbow Push when we're out there walking and marching and working for civil rights and voting rights. It's time to get off of the sidewalks, get into the streets. We've got to be certain that we're demanding and protecting justice for Ahmaud and justice for all of the Ahmauds that are across this country. This is it. We ask that you continue to keep the Arbery family in your prayers, but keep the community of Brunswick in your prayers too, because this community is 50% African American. It's the poorest
15
community, the poorest jurisdiction in the state of Georgia.
10
scarce, poverty is overwhelming, but they are determined now to stand up and to fight for justice. And we need you to pray for them, to push for them. If you can make it to the Glenn County Court down here in Brunswick, come on down and stand with the family. Either hug them virtually or hug them physically. We need you to hug this family, and we need you to get involved to vote and be certain that we have judges, prosecutors, and juries that are in place that are representative of our issues.
Transformative Justice Coalition, everybody, give them your support. Thank you, Attorney Darrell Jones. GoLenaTaylor.com. State Senator, Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor. Put her at the table so we're not on the menu. Attorney C.K. Hoffler. I'm Santita Jackson. I'll be with you on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson on Sunday. Until then, God bless you and have a wonderful day. Attorney Jones and excuse me, I was about to call you Reverend, but you're not, but you've got a ministerial zeal about you, Lena Taylor. God bless you both. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Joyce. Thank you, everybody. I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. But please, all of freedom is not free. The Transformative Justice Coalition, they need your support. Please go to the Transformative Justice Coalition. Go to their website. Give them your support. Join. It costs money to be down there, and they certainly need to be there. They can't afford not to be there, but it's hard to afford to be able to be there. Rainbow Push needs your support. Please, we're coming into Founders Month at Rainbow Push in December. Please put push under your Christmas tree. And of course, GoLenaTaylor.com. I do not endorse candidates, but you know what? I support her. How about that? Everybody, GoLenaTaylor.com. We need her to be the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Wisconsin. I love you, everybody. I will see you. I'll see you on Sunday, Carol, Dave, Maria, Jewel, Linear Bob, and Silly Khan, Valley, and Joyce, and Sue, and Meddy, and Jewel, everybody, Bacon. Hey, Barbara Bacon. Sending you all much love. I'll see you on Sunday. Until then, God bless you. Thank you, Paul. Everybody have a great one.